It's like whatever goal or person that you outline that you want to become, like, do you actually want to be that person? Because if you actually want to be that person, nothing's going to stop you. It's because all these little micro decisions, like you just said, like they consistently slip up. And then when you say that you're going to go do one thing and then you do another, you're conditioning yourself to that pattern to where then when another thing comes up in another area of life, you've already proven to yourself that it's okay to, if you say you're going to do this, not do that. Yeah. Then you start to unravel all these different layers, and then you can form that clarity on, all right, what does this person actually look like that you want to become? And not look like in terms of having abs, look like in terms of how do they approach difficult situations. Go do her chemo and radiation treatments, come work a full shift at IHOP every single day, 7 days a week. And like I just asked her, I'm like, what message would you want to send people? And she's like, no matter how hard it gets, just wake up and keep putting one foot in front of another and love Jesus with all your heart. From Montana, I've been down here in Arizona for about 3 years, and I'm the founder of the Lean and Lethal Project. So what essentially that is our coaching program and community where we help guys build physical and mental resilience through the pursuit of physical excellence. A lot of that started from wanting to be a physical therapist, got into some job shadowing, realized that was not the route for me, and then stumbled across Andy Frisella's podcast, MFCO Project. And that was kind of my first real experience or exposure to what entrepreneurship is. And I'm always somebody that goes against the grain. I'd say sure. I don't like to sort of fit the box that most people tend to live in. And then I had an experience working with a bodybuilding coach back in college, and there were so many things that as I was going through that, I'm like, this could be done in such a better way. And I developed a lot of bad habits and tendencies from that, and that just evolved into sort of starting to coach anybody and everybody in fitness and nutrition. Sports were a huge thing growing up for me, so it's like when you play football, you have the accountability, the standards, the brotherhood from the team, like all of that is in the structure. It's all laid out for you.
Right.
And then when those sports are gone and we don't have that structure, especially when you go your own path and you're a business owner, you have none of that structure. So I'm like, all right, what does this look like? And I needed to find a way to implement all of those aspects back into my life and figure out the identity portion of that I had lost, because my identity, as most guys is tied to sports when we're growing up. So then through beginning this coaching process and sort of outlining a lot of these principles, that's where I really saw a huge gap. Is like so many guys nowadays lack that accountability when it comes to their health and fitness. They lack any sort of personal standard since they got out of sports, and they're willing to spend 40 hours a week working for somebody else, but then they don't give themselves any time. They have no personal standards as far as the things that they're going to do every single day to better themselves so that they can then be more selfless. Like, we got to be selfish before we can be selfless. And over the years, it's evolved a ton. But like where we're at now, I'm so excited and building an awesome brotherhood of guys that are all chasing that next level and wanting to push each other physically and mentally and elevate our standards and improving all four pillars, whether it's faith, family, finance, and fitness. Like, those are all equally important, and one can't be neglected without another.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more, because I'm curious about the idea about you have to be selfish before selfless. Because I do think that's, people hear that and they think it's counterintuitive. It's in a way. So tell me about that, because I think there's something to that.
I mean, so many people don't go to the gym because they're like, I don't have time to.
Right.
Because I'm doing this with my family. I'm giving this to the business that I'm working for in my career. And they're constantly pouring out into everybody else. And that can work for a little bit. Yeah. But eventually that catches up to you. And you are so burnt out. You're so fatigued. Next thing you know, you've put 40 pounds on. You got nothing. You got nothing left to give.
Yeah.
It's like the simple analogy of, like, you got to fill your cup up before you can pour into others. And so many people are just going for years and years and years, and their cup is bone dry because they've been dumping it in everybody else, and they're not able to put their best foot forward.
Yeah.
They're given a 50-20% version of themselves, when if they took a couple hours a week to fill their own cup up, then they could be given that 100% to everybody else that actually means something in their life.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a good point. Plus, I mean, a lot of people, unfortunately, are takers out there, and so if you continuously allow yourself to just give your time away to the detriment of yourself, people will take that opportunity. You know, no one's going to look out for that.
I think a lot of that, it's kind of brutal, but it comes down to, it's like when everybody's stepping on you and not respecting your time, that's because you don't respect your time. You don't respect yourself enough to put that foot down and set those boundaries and say, I need to do this and this for myself before I can start giving away to anybody else.
Right.
So everybody complains about other people using them or stepping on their boundaries or always taking from them and not having respect for them. No one's going to have respect for you if you don't respect yourself first.
For sure.
Which is something that a lot of people overlook.
Right. I'm sure you see that a lot too in the different, you know, it sounds like you work with a wide age range of men, but whether you're in your 20s or your 60s, if you don't learn that lesson, right, it's the same regardless. It probably gets a little difficult as you get older too. So how do you break that down? Because I think a lot of men struggle with that.
What does self-respect look like? And that's a question you got to ask yourself. And when people think about fitness, it's always like very first the vanity metrics, I don't care about having a six-pack. It's like, it's not about having the six-pack. It's about the things that you have to do to get to that point and what that exemplifies. Does everybody need to be bone shredded, ready to step on a bodybuilding stage, which I know you just did? Like, shout out to that, because it's like that requires an extreme amount of discipline, but you don't have to maintain that for your life. But what you do have to have is those standards where you're like, I will do this every single day, and nothing can get in the way of that. You have to respect yourself enough to where you're going to control your temptation around food. When you come home from work and you're stressed out, you have to respect yourself enough to not go to food as a coping mechanism or a reward. You have to respect yourself enough to still go to the gym and put that time in when you're tired.
Right.
To when you come home and you're tired and you have that desire to sit on the couch and watch Netflix, you have to respect yourself enough to, hey, I need to go move a little bit more before I sit on the couch and do this. So when you look at all these little micro decisions throughout the day, this is where you're proving to yourself that you do value yourself, that you do respect yourself. That in turn leads to having self-control in these different areas. That self-control is what builds self-discipline. And when you have that self-discipline, that's when that self-confidence can ultimately come out.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, because seems like that's a combination of all those different pieces coming together. And if you just consistently slip up, right, it may feel like one thing and then you forget about that and you do another one thing and you do another one thing, but eventually it's like it's who you're becoming in the process, right?
That's how people fade over whether it's 5, 10 years, 20 years. It's because all these little micro decisions, like you just said, like they consistently slip up. And then when you say that you're going to go do one thing and then you do another, you're conditioning yourself to that pattern, to where then when another thing comes up in another area of life, you've already proven to yourself that it's okay to, if you say you're going to do this, not do that and go do something else. And then you've rewired your brain and made these things new habits to where you don't have standards anymore.
Right.
You don't have any boundaries. Like, you don't respect your own word. Why is somebody else going to respect your time or what you say?
Yeah. It's amazing how we will. It's amazing how diligent people sometimes will be to other people's commitments. Like, if I promise you something, I'll fall through on that. But how willingly or often we'll break it to ourselves. Which you think would be the opposite. You think like, no, we are gonna lock in on making sure we take care of ourselves. But a lot of those things fall through the crack.
People pleaser.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Let me ask you this, because I'm curious about balance, right? Because people talk about, you mentioned the bodybuilding show. I was doing that, and it was a lot of fun. Took a lot of focus to do it, right? And you've trained for bodybuilding, so you understand what it takes. But you're spending a lot of time in that, and not that I wasn't able to do my work or my career or my businesses. It definitely didn't make it easier, let's put it that way. And I could tell, like, post-show versus pre-show, the amount of time I have now to focus in on it, because that's not my priority, right?
Yep.
So I'm curious, people talk about balance all the time in your life, finding this balance. Do you think that's like something that's possible, or do you think that's just a nice term that we throw around, but it's misunderstood?
I think it's highly misunderstood, and there's not a balance over the course of our entire lifetime.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a thing. You got to look at it more as in different seasons.
Sure.
And every season has a different level of balance based on what your priority is there. So we can break it down to one concept I like to use is using dials, not switches. So you're never on or off with things. It's certain areas get cranked up at certain times, like during certain hours of the day when you're at work, you're all in on that. You go home, you crank down that work, you put your phone away, and you dial up the connections and the relationships that you need to foster in the home.
Yeah.
But then when we look at seasons, like you just said with the bodybuilding, like you're extremely committed during that season, and you don't have great balance. Some other things might get dialed back a little bit in that, but through that experience, and when you like take the fitness side of that, are you always going to be that detailed with your nutrition, that strict with your training for the rest of your life?
Right.
No, it's not sustainable. But you're doing it for that particular season, and then you'd ask, well, what's the point in that? You're developing skills in discipline. You probably have a lot more self-belief after that, and tons of different areas to where you take those skills from that season of your life where you crank that dial up a little more in the discipline with fitness and nutrition.
Sure.
That then you're using those skills in other areas to where you go into the next season, you're taking that skill set into maybe the next season, a huge focus on business.
Right.
And then each season where you crank that dial up, you're developing a skill that then you can take into that next season. And every season's going to have a different priority, different pillars of your life are going to get different percentages, but it's never like I said, it's not switches, it's dials. You're never completely turning off your fitness. You're never completely turning off your family. You're never completely turning off your business or your faith, because all of those things matter, but during those seasons, the dials get adjusted to whatever the focus is.
Right. No, that's a good analogy. I like that, because I think a lot of us, and you see this on social media all the time too, where certain influencers, and I don't know if it's intentional, some may be, but I think some people are genuinely, they're just speaking about one thing, and so people hear them, they think, oh, I have to just like turn off every other switch in my life and just do that if I'm ever going to reach that.
Yeah.
And maybe in some ways they are only doing that. I don't know. You hear about some people who accomplished great things, but had terrible family lives, terrible faith, terrible everything else, because they were so obsessed about that one thing. So
sure.
I like that. I think dials is a good way to view it, because it really is, just turning up the temperature when it's necessary for certain areas.
And it's very individual. It's like you have to be honest about what actually matters to you in that certain point in time. Like you said, you see people on social media, like if you're a guy where family is very important to you, you have your own business, your faith is very important to you, and then you see the guy on social media who's been a bodybuilder for the last 10 years, single, doesn't have his own business, and like that is his sole purpose and passion and everything is that one thing, is taking his meal plan and his program and trying to put that into your life gonna fit?
No,
it's not. So that's why it's such an individual thing, and when it comes to like the coaching side, you gotta look at all of this stuff. You can't just I can't just throw my template into somebody else's life, because they have different priorities and pillars. I was on a call with a guy the other day, and he has like daughter, very important to him, faith, very important to him, running his own business, managing 20 different employees, and he worked with a previous coach that gave him a set meal plan. It's like, you got to follow this, and you got to go to the gym 2 hours a day for 6 days a week. That didn't work for him.
Right.
He's doesn't care about stepping on stage. He's not a bodybuilder. He wants to figure out how can he implement fitness into his life to see the identity change, develop the discipline, lose some weight, get in shape so he can be stronger, more capable, better leader for his daughter, better example for his daughter, better leader for his employees. So it's, what is that minimum effective dose of the habits that we need to put in place in order to get that result without taking too much from the other areas of life. Like fitness should benefit the other pillars. It shouldn't be the entire stack.
Right. Yeah, I think people feel like they have to go one or the other, right? And that's a real struggle. One second, I'm hearing some feedback in my thing. Let me check this real quick. All right, sorry about that. So what, down that vein, because I really do think people oftentimes feel like it's all or nothing, or one or the other, or I have, family and friends too, where I think the idea of building those habits is almost painful, right? They associate pain with it because of what they're going to have to give up, or what they perceive they're going to have to give up, right? They don't associate the joy of achieving it, or the joy of building those routines, or see the value in what they could potentially accomplish if they did it, or even like the energy they'll get back and the things that they can apply to their other aspects of their life. So how do you break that down? Because I agree. I think a lot of people try to use a, one method fits all type system. And you mentioned that's not how you do it. What does that process look like for you? And I get it. It changes for everybody. But how do you try to approach it?
Are we talking more about the all or nothing mindset, or just?
Yeah, like if I'm a kind of average Joe guy coming to you, and average Joe meaning I have like a family, I have a life business, maybe I have a 9 to 5 or whatever, and I'm struggling to put it all together. How would you approach it?
You got to ask the right questions.
Yeah,
that's where it all starts. And like everybody comes in, they're like, well, I want to see my abs, or I want to hit this number on the scale. Why? Like what if you're 260 right now and then you see 200 on the scale tomorrow, what is going to change about your life? Probably not a lot. Like you're not going to be any more confident. Yeah, you might wake up, look in the mirror, see abs for the first time, and like get a little jolt of motivation, but nothing is going to change about the way you operate in your life. So when you actually dive into it and start asking guys like the right questions, then you really start to uncover. It's like, okay, well, I've been breaking promises to myself, and I want to be able to show people that whatever I say, I'm going to accomplish. I want to be able to have the confidence to know that whatever goal I set, I can do. I want to stop going to food and stress eating when I have a terrible day at work. Then you start to unravel all these different layers, and then you can form that clarity on, all right, what does this person actually look like that you want to become? And not look like in terms of having abs, look like in terms of how do they approach difficult situations? How do they handle the relationships in their life? How do they see food? How do they prioritize their time? What does their calendar look like? And then when you outline that and make the identity clear, then you have something that is pulling you, and you can tie that to a purpose outside of yourself. When you have a purpose outside of yourself, you have all the energy in the world. And then there's no such thing as, I'm too tired to do it now. It's like, you're too tired because it's only for yourself. But if you have that purpose outside of yourself, it's like you talked about earlier, it's like we can go do stuff for all these other people, but we can't do anything for ourselves.
Right.
And I think a lot of people, like especially in the social media age, they want that end result, and they're so willing to go spend money on supplements, on monthly blood tests, on methylation tests, all these fancy things from Gary Brecka, but they're not realizing that they don't actually want that number on the scale. They want these habits that come with it. And there's no supplement that you take that and it gives you discipline. Like that's built through the fire and through taking action every single day. You're going to fail some days, and you just got to fail forward. You don't hit a certain target. It's like, all right, how do I need to plan better? What system do I need to put in place to make this easier? It's difficult those first 2 weeks. A lot of that is because you're starting to implement new habits and things that aren't in alignment with that old identity that you still carry. So those first 2 weeks are hard. It's like an analogy I use a lot is you're on an island. That's the comfort that you've been in for a while. That's your current identity. You want to go to this new version of yourself, which is an island that you know it's over there, but you can't quite see it. And you start swimming to that next island, and you're in the middle, and you still don't see that new one, but you look back and that old version of you is right there. It's so easy to just go back to that old identity, because even though it wasn't the best, like, you have comfort in the fact that it is guaranteed, it's certain, it's right there, but you don't know what is to come. You have to go through that gray area before you get to the point where it's like all these habits and actions that you're taking start to make you feel like this new fit version of yourself. And the more you feel like this version of yourself, the easier it is to keep acting. So you have to get through that gray area, swim to the point where it's like you can finally see that new version of yourself, and then it's easier to go. And the more time that you do this, it's like you look at a lot of people that are in shape and actually do the inner work to get there. It's not a struggle, and they don't sit there and stress about what they're eating. They can go on vacation and not care. But these people that constantly struggle and are so focused on the wrong things that they're trying to push instead of pull, they're stressed about what to eat on vacation, and they're just constantly stressed about all these outside factors and looking at all of the noise on social media and these tests and supplements, because they're just avoiding the very basic inner work in daily habits, that minimum effective dose, the daily non-negotiables. They're going to get them there over time. No, there seems to be, and I don't know if this has happened because of social media. I think in general it's probably just we live in a time where things are more and more convenient, and even for men, if we're just talking men, like, purpose has gotten way more blurry. You know, we used to have to go hunt, and we used to have to go provide for a family. We used to have to go whatever it may be, and now I can have a little Uber robot drive it from the store to my door, you know? And so I think a lot of that is really plays an effect. But yeah, I think people want convenience, and so they're confused when things are difficult, right? But you're right, you know, you can buy the most expensive supplement in the world, and I guarantee it'll sit on your kitchen counter, and you won't take it every day because you don't have that habit, right, of even taking it. You just bought a supplement. So that's interesting, the fact that it really is more about. So do you try to help people enjoy the journey of getting through that gray space, I guess is the best way to put it, that kind of in between? Or do you try to be more straight up with them and go, hey, this might suck for a while and you're probably not going to like it, or do you think it's a mix? It's both. I think a lot of that comes down to the perspective that you choose to take up. And I think that's one of the most powerful things, is that, like, pain is inevitable for every single one of us. Nobody is special, nobody is different. We all feel that initial emotion, whether it is pain or you feel a little anxious. The difference is how you decide to respond to that. Like, suffering is a choice at the end of the day. You might feel that initial onset of pain, but you can see that as all right, this is a challenge to where I can develop and improve my skill set. Or you can look at that as, man, this absolutely sucks. I'm going to have to suffer through it. And that's just going to take you down a negative rabbit hole. So you do have to understand that it's not always going to be easy. That's for sure. Like, you can't expect there not to be any pain. I think that's why people suffer, is because they go through things expecting that they're not going to encounter any sort of pain or discomfort, and then they fall into that trap of suffering. So 100%, you got to be real with yourself and understand that you're not going to want to do it every day. Sometimes it's going to be hard. Sometimes it's going to be inconvenient. But that's where it goes back to, if you have that clarity in your identity that is pulling you, you're going to be able to make it through. But if you don't have that, and it's like you just see, man, I got to go walk, do my cardio, or go to the gym, or meal prep, or whatever the thing is to hit 200 or whatever number on the scale, it doesn't mean anything to anyone. Like, it's going to be so easy to quit at that point. And then you got to be honest with yourself. It's like, whatever goal or person that you outline that you want to become, like, do you actually want to be that person? Because if you actually want to be that person, nothing's going to stop you.
We were just about diving in. You ran across to Arizona, and I'm not exactly sure where we cut off. So if you just want to start from there, we'll dive right in.
Yeah, it's basically the why behind running across to Arizona. A year ago, I had a big spot of melanoma on my back. Had to check into the whole MD Anderson Cancer Center.
Yeah.
Went under, did a whole surgery on that, and sitting there at 24 years old, when you look around, everybody else is 70s, 80s, just hanging on a life by a thread. Like, that really, really jolted me. And it sucked too because I was training for a Ironman 70.3, and I was like 3 or 4 weeks away, and like they called and kind of told me this after I went to the dermatologist and they did the biopsy, and I'm like, can we just wait like 3 weeks and then I'll come in and do the surgery? And they're like, no, we gotta go immediately because melanoma was like the worst form of skin cancer. Like it spreads very quickly and can be fatal. So
were you able to compete or did you have to?
No, I had staples in my back. Like the scar is probably a good 8 inches.
Why was it just a huge spot of melanoma?
I mean, it was only like I got all these moles and whatnot. So like the actual spot was, I don't know, maybe a centimeter big. Yeah. But then there's a certain depth, and they got to take a certain radius all the way around it to make sure they got it all. And then I did lymph node biopsies too to make sure it didn't spread. So then I had incisions in my armpit and whatnot. So
how did you catch it? Like, did you have a reason that you went in to get checked, or were you just?
My entire life, I've gone to the dermatologist annually to do skin checks. Like, I got so many moles and whatnot. You just go in, they look at everything, see if there's anything new or abnormal, and 99% of the time, they're like, nah, you're good. And then you come back next year. And every now and then they'll be like, there's one that's a little off or iffy, so they shave it off, send it in the lab, test it. I'm like, oh, it's clear. But I've had 3 now on my back that were melanoma, and 2 of them, they just cut it off, stitch it up, dermatologist, and then test it, and the depth was fine. But this one, after the initial biopsy, the depth was to the point where I had to go to the cancer center, and then do the lymph node biopsies, make sure it hadn't spread, because if the lymph node biopsies came back and it had, next step would have been chemo. Right. So
you don't want to get
there. I didn't have to go down that route. But that essentially just inspired me. I'm like, all right, I want to do something that is extremely difficult, that I don't know if I can do, that is multiple days, to just show people that are like in that fight with cancer. It's like no matter how bad and how painful it gets and how much you're suffering, you can continue to get up every single day and just keep putting one foot in front of another. Yeah. So to tie the run across Arizona to that, we raised over $15,000, and we're going to donate $5,000 to 3 different families that are battling cancer.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Pretty big why tied to it going in, and funny enough, like even leading up to the run, 6 weeks out, I had another just monthly. After the big melanoma stint, I went from going once a year to going every 3 months. Yeah. So I had one skin check that was 6 weeks before the run across Arizona. They found another spot, and I'm like, I hope this isn't too severe where like I have to cancel this whole thing. Ended up just being, they cut it off in the dermatologist, stitch it up. It was like on the base of my neck, but wasn't able to do any training for 4 weeks after that because I had those stitches. Wow. And then I
was that good or bad for your run?
Not ideal. That's for sure. Like a lot of people were like, man, what was your training for something like that? There was not a lot of physical training going into that. Like in the 6 weeks before the run across the state, I think I ran 3 or 4 times. Really? That was it. And one of those was 2 weeks out. This was going to be like the peak of my training. Yeah. 50-mile trail run in Sedona. And 12 miles into that, I did something, tweaked my knee, just felt super off. And already going into that run, I'm like, all right, 2 weeks from now, I'm running across the state. Like, that is the sole focus. So, like, I need to be aware of if something happens, like, at what point do I not push through it to continue an injury that's going to keep me from running across the state. So that was my mindset going in. Tweaked my knee on like mile 12, and it just continued to get worse and worse and worse. Part of that was just because I was so heavily focused on it. And then it got to the point at mile 22 where I could hardly even walk like a 25, 30-minute mile. And I'm like, all right, we got to call it here. I thought I had torn something on my knee for sure. I'm like, this probably the worst pain I've ever had in my knee. Thought something was torn. Called it mile 22. The next 3 days went and saw a PT, started BPC 157, TB 500, like rest, everything that I could possibly do. I was always like PT, prayers, and peptides. Like, that was the 3 things that were getting me through it. But Tuesday comes around, that race is on Saturday, 0 pain in my knee. Really? Feel completely fine. So now, week and a half out from the run across Arizona, I'm like, probably shouldn't run again just for the chance that I re-aggravate that injury. Right. So that was that. Not a lot of training going into the run, but I can tell you, if I didn't have that experience, I don't know if I would have made it through the run across Arizona, because on day one, had the exact same pain that I had in my knee in Sedona.
Huh.
Exact same pain. And if I hadn't had that experience where 3 days later I was completely fine, I probably would have focused way too heavily on that, and probably would have led to the point where I'm like, something's torn. But I had that experience. I knew what that pain was. I knew that it would go away eventually. So I just didn't focus on it and just kept moving forward. And the next day, pain was pretty much gone in my knee. But then it's like getting into the run. It was a constant evolution of the knee would hurt, and I just keep moving. Like, you can't stop. From the beginning, I told myself this as well as everybody else. It's like, there's never going to be a question of whether or not we stop. It is, unless I have rhabdo, my piss is dark brown, we're going to keep going forward no matter what.
You get hit by a car or something going down.
It's that. And there were points when that was close too, which I'll get to. But it was like, there's never a question of do we keep going unless I have rhabdo. So solution focused.
What is rhabdo? Just
basically just severe dehydration, and then your kidneys start to shut down.
All right.
So
it might be
life threatening. Yeah. So that's the only thing that's gonna take me out. Like, I got shin splints, stress fractures, torn ligaments. Like, we're gonna get it done. It might take longer, but we're gonna get it done. So any problem that comes up, I'm like, we're solution focused, not problem focused. It's what can we do right now to sort of ease the pain and fix the problem or prevent further damage. If something, awesome, let's do it. If there's nothing, cool, get out there and just keep moving. Forward momentum, like that. That is the whole thing. And like, knee would hurt for 2 hours, and then all of a sudden that pain would go away. My other Achilles would hurt, and then it was just like bouncing back and forth. But the entire time, it was like, what got me across the state was not any sort of training ahead of time in terms of running. Like, I'm not a big runner at all. The most I'd ever run before this was 30 miles on a whim with a buddy.
Yeah, it's a big jump up.
So it's like, there's nothing before in terms of training that set me up, but it was the mental work. Like we just talked about for the last however long. That mental work and being able to control where my focus went, that is what allowed me to get across the state.
Right. What exactly, when you say mental state, like what's going through your mind? Was it the why of who you were doing it for? Was it just the I don't want to quit? Was it, what was it?
There are a lot of different frameworks that we can kind of touch on. The first one is, like, going into it, there's no option of quitting. So many people give themselves that sort of backdoor safety exit route in case like they get close to failure. Like, a very simple thing here is, like, I'll talk to guys and it's like, how many times do you lift per week? And they're like, 3 to 6 in there. And it's like, why do people give themselves a range? They give themselves a range because they want to be able, on that day when they've only done 3 workouts, it's the end of the week, and they're a little bit tired, a little bit fatigued. They want to be able to have that excuse to not go, because they only said they're going to go 3 to 6. But if you say you're going to go 5, then on that day when you're tired and exhausted, you got to go 5. Otherwise, you're not a man of your word.
Right.
So having no option of quitting, that is the first thing. Because then you don't have that thought ever in the back of your mind. There's no negotiation that happens there. There's one route. We're going to keep going. Going forward no matter what. So that was the biggest principle. Next one was solution focused, not problem focused, which I pretty much tapped on there. And then having a big why is definitely key. But throughout the entire, it ended up being 10 days. We initially planned on 8, but ended up doing about 40 miles a day. Where your focus is and just the energy of the entire, everybody around you is so important, because the minute you start to put your focus on pain or it sucking or some sort of inconvenience, all your energy is going to go to that. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. And that doesn't just come from me, that comes from all the people that I'm around. And your environment is such an important factor in your progress in anything. And I think a lot of people need to take an honest audit of their environment and the people around them. So we made that clear from the beginning, is kind of like what to say when I'm in the grind, because somebody could say the wrong thing and that just throws me down a slippery slope. But then it's like, when I'm in the middle of nowhere on a dirt road and I start to feel that pain, it is just instantly going to, like, finding things to be grateful for, talking to God, putting a smile on my face. Like when you smile and those facial muscles activate, like it sends a chemical signal to your brain that actually changes your physical state. So smiling, just like hooting and hollering, singing out loud, good vibes with the crew the entire time, and never giving it an ounce of focus.
Yeah.
Now, like I said earlier, it's like, was I in pain? 100%. Like that's there. That was a fact. But we didn't continue to divert focus and energy to that for any extended period of time. It's like if there's nothing we can do right now to help this, awesome. Let's just keep moving forward.
Right.
And there were points like when I was going through Winslow, standing on the corner of Winslow, Arizona. It was actually like right by that monument in the song, and my knees, both of them, hurt so bad every single step, just excruciating pain, like way more than was in Sedona. And this is one of 2 times that I was crying. Like, I'm not someone who's emotional or don't ever cry, but like I was just, and there's never a point when it was like, I don't know if I'm gonna finish this, but at that point it was, man, I don't know how long this is gonna take. Like I can hardly walk right now.
Right.
But
imagine.
I could have sat there and just focused on that, but I'm like, I'm just going to keep trying to move forward. For a good 20 minutes, it was like I'd take 6 steps and have to stop because like the pain was so severe. And then eventually it got to a point where I could kind of very, very slowly walk. And then I was just focused on, all right, get back to a normal gait, a normal walking pattern. And then 5 more minutes went by. The 2 people that were running with me, like they're trying to just be as positive. They're not focusing on it, like asking how you feeling, Everybody knows how I feel, like I'm in pain. But it's focusing on things outside of that, and eventually get back to the point where I could walk. Then I get back to a point where I could jog. And it was just a continuous cycle of that. Like you talk about, there are a lot of highs and lows. I look at it, I mean, it's like life as a whole. Like life's a spring, and as we continue to move down the spring, we hit a high point, and then we hit a low point, and then we hit a high point, and we hit a low point. So many people get to a low point in their life, and they just stop moving. They stop taking action. They just sit there, and then they essentially choose to suffer. And then everything grows and becomes so much worse. But if you just keep moving forward, no matter how slow, how imperfect it is, you're going to get to that next high point.
Right.
So there's so many lessons that came out of this week that translate to life as a whole. And I'm like, I feel like I just lived a whole year of my life in 10 days.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. I mean, that's just a difficult experience. No matter which way you cut it, right? It's you can. So who did you bring on this to be your crew, right? Because like you said, that's so key. Is the environment you have around you. Was it friends? Was it family? Was it girlfriends? Was it what? Like who did you have around you?
So my best friend Justin, he is like, his mindset and perspective on life is elite. And honestly, like me and him, if I met him when I did the Goggins 4x4x48 last year, 2 years ago now. He's actually from Montana too. Like we grew up 10 miles from each other. But
did you know each other growing up? Or?
No, we didn't. Okay. We didn't meet till down here. But just
it's a cool way to meet.
Like we could be in a house that is burning down, and we wouldn't be panicking. Like we'd have a good perspective on life. And I think so many people like look at the things we do and just see it as like miserable or suffering. Like why would you put yourself through that?
Right.
And like this is what got me through the whole run. It's like we have so much power to choose the perspective that we take on life and in whatever situation that is. And I think a lot of people don't give themselves that choice or ability or see that they have that power. And it's so freeing once you actually like take ownership of that like no matter what situation you're in, you get to choose what emotions you're going to hold in that.
Right.
But nonetheless, Justin, he was the crew. Excuse me. We had a very light crew. So Justin was there for the first weekend and the last weekend. And then I have my buddy Gio in there for the middle of the week. And funny enough, the guy who I thought was going to be there in the middle of the week, like 2 weeks out, some stuff came up and he wasn't able to be there. The night before we started, or 2 nights before we started, we were driving up on Friday. This was Thursday night. I didn't have any crew for the middle. We're 48 hours out, and I had 0 crew, nobody driving the RV for the middle of it. And I had lots of people going, hey, you going to cancel the run? Like, what's going on? Like, you know, you're going to push it back? I did everything I could, put it out on social media, reached out to a ton of people, and I'm like, done all I could at this point. Like, it's in God's hands. I think he's gonna take care of it. And it was like 9 o'clock at night on Thursday, and Gio came to this little send-off party that we had, and he's like, yeah, I actually don't have anything going on next week, and I can do it. So God provided. I did the work that I needed to do and step back and let him handle the rest, and he did that. So Justin beginning of the week, Gio middle of the week, Justin end of the week, and then we had a few people kind of throughout each weekend that showed up for like a day and ran with me. Super cool to have all those people, Kyra, Woody, Josh, like some amazing people that I had never even met before this. Like they just saw it on Instagram and they're like, hey, I want to come run a day with you. So that was super cool, and like their energy was awesome. And then had James, the videographer, the whole way with us, but he's kind of off doing his own thing.
Sure.
For a lot of that.
Very cool. Wow. So then you had people on social media that just were like, hey, I want to participate at some level, huh?
Yeah, it's wild. Like, show up for a stranger you never met and go run 40 miles with them and suffer. So it was super cool to see people doing that. But along the whole way, there's so many people that I talked to, whether it was on social media or people that we just saw on the side of the road.
Right.
And even leading up to the event, people that I talked to, and it's so many people are affected by cancer in some way.
Right.
And like it touched so many people's heartstrings. Like there was one guy, he was a friend of Gio, and his sister had passed away from cancer like 3 days before he saw us. So I think like the weekend I started the run.
Wow.
There was a lady, after we finished in Bullhead City, we went and ate at IHOP because it was just across the street and we wanted to eat and get home.
Yeah.
And we were the only ones in there. It's like 9 at night, IHOP in Bullhead City. One server working. Yeah, it was interesting. There was one server working, and we get done eating, and she had kind of heard what we were doing, and she starts to tell us her story. I think her name was Gina, and a little bit older. She's probably late 50s, maybe early 60s, and she'd been battling cancer for like the last 18 years.
Wow.
And started to tell us her story, how she'd wake up in the morning, go do her chemo and radiation treatments, come work a full shift at IHOP every single day, 7 days a week.
Wow.
And like I just asked her, I'm like, what message would you want to send people? And she's like, no matter how hard it gets, just wake up and keep putting one foot in front of another and love Jesus with all your heart.
Wow.
Like I said at the beginning of this when I started describing, I'm like, I want to do something that proves that no matter how hard it gets, you can wake up and keep putting one foot in front of another. And we finished the run, and this lady that was our server, it's like, what are the odds of that happening?
Yeah.
She comes and tells her story, and it was like exactly, like it just tied everything together and like made the whole experience so meaningful.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's so cool. That's such a cool, I guess, kind of cherry on top to the whole package. What, speaking of getting up and keep going and I can only imagine after, probably after day one at the very least, but surely after day 2, 3, 4, like getting up, at least once you're going, your legs are like, okay, I'll cooperate somewhat. But that initial, you got to be walking out of that car, whatever you're doing, stiff as a board. Like, how did you getting
started is the hardest part every single day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like whenever your alarm goes off, it's like the hardest part is just putting your feet on the floor.
Yeah.
The hardest part of every single day was just getting out of the RV.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, the hardest thing was eating food. Because obviously getting calories in, like it's non-negotiable. Like that's your fuel. I'm probably burning 8,000 calories a day. And I knew going into it that like nothing's gonna sound good. I'm not gonna have an appetite. Your sympathetic nervous system is in such hyperdrive that you don't have that. You're not in rest and digest, and there's no hunger hormone there. And I knew that nothing would sound good, but it was to the point where like I didn't even want to look at food.
Really?
Like, I'd put food in my mouth and it would just like make me want to gag.
Yeah.
The mornings of day 2 and 3. Just from trying to eat breakfast, I went and threw up both of those mornings.
Really? What were you eating? What? Not. I know it didn't affect it.
We brought everything.
Really?
Because I'm like, there's got to be something that sounds good. We had muffins, bagels, croissants, cereal, rice, candy, like every carbohydrate you could think of. Energy gels, like carb powders, everything we had. Nothing. Nothing would sound good. So it was just kind of throw options at me until I could eventually stomach something.
Yeah.
And even then, I think I was probably getting 4,500 to 5,000 calories every single day. I still lost 15 pounds in the 10 days.
Wow.
So it was get as many carbohydrates as I possibly could in, get some protein in, because it's like when you do shorter events, you just need carbs, you don't need protein. But when you're doing multi-day events, you 1,000% you have to have that protein and those amino acids in there.
Sure.
And then fluid wise, we sort of leapfrogged it the entire time. So this is kind of another mental framework. Is it was never run 375 miles. It was I got 4 miles to go. From day 1 through day 10, it was all right. 4 miles. That's it. I got 4 miles to go. Get to the RV, get some sort of calories, carbohydrates, liquids, electrolytes in me, and then I got 4 more miles. That was my mindset the entire time. There was never a point when I even thought, man, I have 344 miles left or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Even got to the end, we were getting sort of close, and like for the crew, when we have 80 miles left, they're like, that is nothing. Like out of 375, like we're so close. And then one guy started to say that, I'm like, nope, we got 4 miles left, not 80, 4 miles. It's like, it seems like a small number to you, but that isn't something that I can even process right now.
Right.
But then like my sleep score the first 2 nights, I wore my Garmin to bed, 10, 14, like sleeping for, according to the Garmin, like 1 or 2 hours a night.
Yeah.
And like,
I'm sure your body's just freaking out.
It's only going to get worse as time went on. So, all right, I'm going to stop. I don't even need to see that. I'm not wearing my Garmin when I'm sleeping. But this is like a takeaway afterwards is like I can sleep for 1 or 2 hours a night, absolutely terrible sleep, and still go out and run 14 miles. And my brain wasn't operating at a high level, but I could still get done what I needed to get done.
Right.
So then when I came home and I'm sitting at my desk and I'm like, man, kind of talking to myself, I'm like, man, I'm tired today. I'm like, no, you aren't. You just ran 10 days straight, 40 miles a day with like an hour of absolutely horrific sleep.
Right.
It's like it reframed what that sort of expectation of actually being tired is.
Yeah.
And it's like you hear people complain about that on a day-to-day. I'm like, brother, you don't know what it means to be tired.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing the amount of things we put as precursors to doing before we actually do what we're supposed to do. As like, oh, I gotta have this, I gotta do this, I've gotta have the perfect this, that, and the other before I can accomplish anything, and it's
there was nothing perfect going into this race. The training wasn't perfect. Driving up on Friday to start, I get to the top of the hill going into Flagstaff, and the engine on the RV just shuts off. I'm like, brother, you're kidding me right now. Like, we haven't even started, and we're already dealing with this. Luckily, I turned the RV off, turned it back on, and it was good for the rest of the week. But it's like I knew that there were going to be a lot of challenges and obstacles, and it was just solution focused.
Yeah, a lot of those 3 P's: prayers, peptides, and what was the other?
PT.
Yeah.
Which after the first day, I give my PT buddies, the guys at Bar PT, a phone call. They gave me some exercises because what was happening and why I had the knee thing was my glute med wasn't firing enough, which was causing some essentially IT band syndrome.
Right.
So I was like trying to do those exercises on day 1 and day 2 to compensate as much as I could before I get that firing. But like all said and done, it was just no quit, burn the ships.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how you could be running that much and like your body still, there's parts of it not firing, it's not compensating quite right. That's pretty crazy how that works. Tell me a little bit, and not to deviate from, because I appreciate the story and I think it's just amazing. Once again, I think so many people will be inspired. Obviously, we're inspired by it, but hopefully listening to this are inspired by that story. Tell me a little bit about peptides. Obviously, you used them. What do you think about them? I think that's a thing that people, and not that you're an expert in or anything like that, unless you are, then please feel free to share. But what's your experience with it? Because I think there's a lot of people who are curious about it, want to use it, and obviously it's not it's not one of those things where it's going to solve all your problems.
Yeah, but for sure. Definitely not an expert in it, and obviously I'm not a doctor. I do think there's a huge issue with just the popularity of it on social media.
For sure.
It's like the reason you see it so much is, especially on like TikTok, is because People are selling it, making a ton of money of it.
Right.
Do they have a use case? Yes. Am I anti-peptide? Absolutely not. I've used them myself.
Yeah.
But it's not something where you're just curious about it. You're like, I want to try peptides. Let's go find something to try. No, you should have some sort of problem that you're trying to fix or address.
Right.
And then you go find the peptide that does X thing. It's not just, it looks interesting. I want to find some peptide that's going to be fun to take.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't even know what they're taking or what the goal is. And just like when earlier in the conversation we were talking about people get all the noise from supplements or whatever it is, throw peptides in that category, and then they're completely neglecting the actual things that matter. It's like, what is your intention behind taking a peptide?
Right.
Now, if you got an injury, you had a surgery that is like joint or ligament based, yeah, TB 500 and BP 57 would highly recommend taking those. I've talked to people too where they're just like, yeah, my muscles are sore, so I'm gonna take BPC 157. I'm like, it's not how that works, bro.
Sure.
But even like you get into, excuse me,
you're good,
retatrutide or semaglutide, all the GLP-1s, can they serve a purpose? 100%. Like if you have so much food noise that you can't even get started or not look at food, that can be something that can start helping you take those right steps and developing those right habits. But if you don't have that whole identity piece like we talked about and you don't know what skills you're actually building, because like when you're out of shape, it is a lack of clarity and a lack of skills.
Yeah.
That is what it is. It's not that you don't have some rocket science special workout program.
Yeah.
It is you don't have the right skills. You don't have, and skills could come down to planning, self-control, so many things there. But like I said, those GLP-1s can get you in the door, but they aren't going to be a complete plan or solve the complete picture.
Yeah.
And so many people take them not even knowing what they do. There's a lot of guys too that I'll talk to and running their own business. They're super stressed out. They already don't eat. They don't have an appetite. Just like I talked about on the run. It's like when you're in that fight or flight, you don't have those hunger hormones there. They already don't have that. They have zero food noise. They don't even think about food. Taking Reddit or a GLP-1 isn't going to help you. Like
Right.
You're already under fueling, and then you have things on the weekend where you're getting dopamine from food or just binging out because you've been hungry all week or going at it as from stress.
Sure.
That's what you need to address.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like understanding what the actual mechanism is that the peptide does,
Right.
and having a problem that you're trying to solve with that. That's where they come into play. Just handing peptides out like candy to guys that don't even know how much protein they're consuming.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I think problems occur.
Yeah. No, that's true, and I guess we see that a lot too, where people are taking GLP-1s or whatever for weight loss, and you see them. I think is that what they call the Ozempic face or whatever, where it's like clearly there's no framework in place for their nutrition. They're not lifting. They're not supporting their muscle, and so then they're like these stick and bones.
They get
gone.
skinny fat.
Yeah.
Because you're not eating, like you have no hunger hormones, so you're not eating enough protein. Do you lose a bunch of weight? Of course, you're not eating. Like you don't need Ozempic to just stop eating.
Yeah.
But then it's like you lose all the weight, you don't have muscle mass, and then it's like what is the purpose?
Yeah.
Like, do you care about getting the weight off, or do you care about being disciplined, being capable, having muscle mass, having these habits and confidence that are actually going to benefit areas of your life?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we've been talking about this, and you've mentioned it a few times, is these frameworks and systems.
Yep.
Because I think a lot of people do overcomplicate things, where they think it's all about one thing or the other thing, or I have to do X, Y, and it's like, no, it really is about simple frameworks and systems that if you follow them and put them in place, you're going to get results. And there's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of, nuance between those, but for the most part, like that's what it takes to do it. And yeah, I think peptide, same thing. If you follow a framework and it's a part of that, then it makes sense. But if not, it's just you're not using it for the right purpose.
I think that's natural, sort of human tendency to overcomplicate everything.
Yeah.
Like we want to make things seem a lot harder than they are, either to justify not doing it or to make it seem like more of an accomplishment. Almost.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of guys once they actually figure it out and understand the principles, they're shocked about how easy it actually is.
Yeah.
Like it's so simple to get in shape, but you have to understand what the principles are. There's a difference between methods and principles. Methods are many, principles are few. Methods often change, principles never do.
Right.
It's like the method is carnivore, fasting, keto. Like those are all various methods, but and those change over time. Like new fad diets come up. The principle that drives fat loss, calorie deficit.
Right.
That has never changed over the course of time. That is just thermogenesis. That is science. These are all just different ways to achieve that. So take that for what it is. But if you don't understand that principle, you're constantly in that guessing game of a world, jumping from thing to thing to thing, and then you get frustrated. You're like, man, I don't know why this isn't working or this isn't working. It's like, because you're not understanding what's actually getting the result. You're just trying to jump from method to method.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point, because it really is. You can jump from multiple methods and try all the different methods in the world, but if they're not really focused on the principles, or you don't understand the principles behind that method, it doesn't mean you'll necessarily have success with it. Or you might have short-term success, and then, as soon as you stop that method.
But if you don't know what drove the success, you're not going to be able to replicate it.
Right, and that is true, because I feel like a lot of people, even online or social media, they don't necessarily teach principles; they teach more methods, and that's where people get lost along the way.
Because that's what's sexy, that's what sells.
Yeah,
that's where the marketing comes in.
Yeah, that's more the show.
Basic principles. There's nothing fancy or special or sexy. Like, those don't sell.
You mean nobody wants to hear just eat less?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that's not nearly as fun of a topic. Tell me a little bit about what's coming up, because you've got a cool event coming up that you've been prepping for.
Yeah.
Obviously, the run was the latest, but now this is coming up. What spurred this? What are you most excited about, and what is it? Yeah,
so in October, we got our first Lean and Lethal Summit. I've just seen such a gap in, I don't know if I want to say society or the marketplace.
Yeah.
But a place where guys can come together who all value the same things. They're growth oriented. They actually hold a standard for themselves.
Sure.
And like I've gone to different networking events, and it's so transactional and superficial.
Mm-hmm.
You walk in there, hey, here's your business card, here's my business card, what do you sell? Oh, cool. And then like everyone's just trying to get something from somebody. And then like even in the church these days, like I feel like masculinity has kind of been diminished.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily made out to what it's meant to be. So I wanted to create an event where guys can come together for a weekend. Everybody holds that standard, it's going to be application based, so not everybody that applies will get in. We want it to be a highly selective group of people, but to push them physically, because a lot of guys don't have somebody that is holding them accountable and pushing them to that next level in terms of like their fitness. We have that, whether it's our customers, our employees, or things driving us in business to get there. Yeah, you have your family that is asking things for you, but no one's pushing you to elevate as an individual, as a man. So having something where guys can come together, sort of let the outside noise from the world dissipate, be challenged physically, be challenged mentally. Through that, like, you build a connection when you're suffering alongside brothers that nothing else can.
Yeah.
So, and then we're gonna have some keynote speakers there, because obviously learning and development, like that's always a goal of it. Growing and getting stronger physically doesn't mean anything if you don't have, and we've been talking about mindset and mental frameworks the whole time here, to have that come along with it. And then we have a private chef for the whole weekend.
Oh shoot.
Making good meals. But yeah, I'm super excited for this. I think it's gonna go well, and then depending on this first one, we'll just continue to rinse and repeat, because there's a huge need for it.
Yeah.
Guys need community. We need brotherhood for that accountability aspect and standards in your life, because it's like your wife or your girlfriend isn't gonna hold you accountable.
Sure.
Oftentimes we fall into these friend groups where everybody's so comfortable with each other, and honestly, a lot of them guys need to take an honest look at that and realize that they need a new group of friends, and it's hard to leave
Yeah.
that group of friends that you're comfortable in, not knowing what's out there. But it's like, if you already knew what that next level looked like and where that would pull you and elevate you to be like, probably would have left these friends from college
Right.
a long time ago. So the goal is just to create that environment to where making a brotherhood stronger and raising the standard for guys overall.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think people realize how much their environment molds their actions. But I do agree. I think a lot of it too is that a lot of men don't know where to turn, because I can't remember who I was talking to. It was a friend, I think, but could have been a family member as well. Maybe I told both of them. I think that's one thing. I told both of them. But we were talking just about how a lot of these traditional, masculine environments, places where you could go meet other guys, hang out with other guys, kind of a, even as young guys turn into men, like that rite of passage, they've really disappeared from at least American society. And I don't know where that happened. Maybe it was in the convenience of life. Maybe it was, you can probably point to a lot of political movements as well. I think there's still places where women can go and do things for the most part, and I think that's been more popularized. But men,
hey, you think about where to go. It's like,
yeah,
it's like, you got
where?
the guys that just go to the bars every single weekend.
Yeah.
Or you got the gun guys.
Yeah.
They go to the range. A lot of them are out of shape. Maybe they don't have a great family life. Like, there's no place where it is a solid, well-rounded group of guys that wants to grow. It's not going to be any alcohol there.
Right.
I'll tell you that.
You're not just getting drunk in the mountains of Flagstaff.
It's not just a party with the boys.
Yeah.
It's not a networking group where it's very transactional. It's not like, I think everybody should be going to church, but it's not a church group where it's just all about kindness nowadays, and there's not that like hard line of masculinity and leadership.
Sure.
Like, I sat there and tried to think about it. I'm like, where can I find a group like this that is actively growing in all four of those pillars, holds a high standard for themselves, and wants to have brothers that do the same? I couldn't think of anything. So
yeah, there's very few at the very least, because even the places that did do that, the one that comes to mind is like Boy Scouts, but even that's not really a thing.
I'm an Eagle Scout. So
yeah, same here.
I went through that whole thing, but even looking at that nowadays,
it's not even the same as it
there's
once
zero
was.
physical standard. Girls are in it now, and like, it's just another like club.
Right.
And like, I have family that is highly involved in scouting, and I've tried to talk to the guy that leads Montana for Boy Scouts. I'm like, let's get in here and like actually
do something,
set a physical standard and like attract guys and boys that want to be more, not just be a hangout where you go tie knots, everyone's accepted, like we're all loving and like
little fire circles, sing some song. Yeah.
Like it gave me a lot of skills, especially like in the leadership realm growing up. Like, I'm grateful I did it. Not every time my parents brought me there I wanted to be there, but I'm grateful for that for sure. Yeah,
it used to be a great program, but they've really diluted what it used to be. And it really is those core principles. It was like people just started to.
I think they gave in to society's pressure.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you think? Because I had somebody on last week who she talked a lot about the feminist movement and about being a mother and how that's not very cool anymore, and women feel like they're pressured into either choosing career or choosing motherhood and aborting kids because they don't want to deal with the pressures of a child and all those factors, and rightly so. I think on the men's side, it's kind of similar. Do you think there's a concentrated effort for this, or do you think it's just life and life's eases seeping in?
Talking like an effort to.
Yeah. Do you think there's
destroy masculinity?
Yeah, for sure. Because if you think about it, a society where men are weak, and that's very useful to some.
Yeah, I think just attacking the traditional household, which I'm sure, I haven't listened to that episode, but I'm sure like she touched on that. It's like, when the traditional like family unit is strong, and like, every family and the community is like taking care of themselves, there's not a lot for the upper levels to control. But if you destroy like the centralized family unit, you split up families, you make men weak so that women need to step into masculine roles, and then you don't have those traditional roles that complement each other anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that's the best way to sort of take control.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over people, and like that's part of the reason like I've diverted my coaching to just men, because I'm like, if we just give men the identity and the skill set and get them in shape and make them capable, they're going to be able to fill that masculine role, lead a family. If the wife or significant other isn't in shape already, they're going to be able to help them do that. Right. They're going to set the example for the kids. It's like, that is the foundational pillar.
Sure.
Now, 100%, I'm not saying men are better than women. Like, they complement each other and they need each other.
Sure.
But if men aren't stepping into that role in terms of leadership and masculinity and standing for what they believe and not just being passive in life, which I think is a lot of where kindness has been, or passivity has been mistaken for kindness, I think.
Yeah.
To where not saying anything, I don't want to offend somebody, I want to be nice.
Right.
And it's like you're just letting all this other stuff that you know you stand against it, but you're too scared to hurt somebody's feelings. That's how our society degrades over time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there has definitely been confusion on being, kind versus being strong.
For sure.
And blending those lines and realizing that you can be kind and strong, and just because you're strong doesn't mean you're not kind. I think those don't have to be opposing. But a lot of people think that if I don't have a backbone, or if I do have a backbone, then I'm a bad person, or I'm. But there has to be a standard, right? And I think that's what you're saying. There has to be a standard across the board that people can strive to and live to and look to, because there are a lot of young guys coming up, especially, and even older guys too. I think you see that all the time.
Yeah.
But young guys scratching their head and questioning, like, where do I go? What do I turn to? And then, unfortunately, when you're lost and you don't know what to turn to, anything that comes along then becomes a good option. And so you see people turning to a lot of negative focuses instead.
Whether that's porn or alcohol or partying or drugs or all of those negative vices, because it's like nowhere else to go, no real direction.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people lack, like, they don't have values. They might say they do, but if you don't have something that you will, like, actively stand for and actively stand against, and, like, when you're put into X situation, if something goes against your values, you don't either leave that situation or stand up for it. You don't have values.
Yeah.
And I think that is where a lot of this stems from.
Yeah.
Like, getting into the whole identity thing that we keep touching on. It's like, you ask so many guys just like, who do you want to be, or who are you, or what values do you stand for? They don't have answers for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just people haven't been asked that question, so they haven't thought about it, or if it's just been stripped down because of whether it is the constant need for quick dopamine hits and comfort and no real leadership or movement or thing to be a part of, no real purpose in life.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's a piece of that. And I think also there's almost so much noise out there and so many voices, it's almost hard to know what to listen to, right?
Yeah.
And partially being, you kind of forget to listen to yourself, and ask that question, like, who do I want to be? What do I want to create in this world? Like, what can I really offer and bring to the table? Because you just fill your head with so many other voices, so many other opinions, so many other options. And in some ways that's great, right? I think of my grandparents, 50 years ago, they did the best they could based off what they knew, but they didn't have access to the internet. They didn't know what was maybe beyond what they had in their little circle. And that can be a great thing, right? Because they did great things in their circle, but also what could they have done if they had had access to the internet and knowledge, right? And now we have access to that, but it doesn't necessarily mean we're doing anything useful with it.
For sure.
And so, yeah, it's kind of one of those, you got to learn to use it as a tool and really put those frameworks in place, right?
Yeah, I mean, use it as a tool, but it's like, you talk about thinking for yourself, like now, or to the point too, it's like people, I don't know what my values are, and then they're, hey, ChatGPT, what are my values? I'm like,
yeah,
you gotta have
the AI pulling from every single thing on the internet.
Yeah, like, blows my mind. Like, we gotta be able to get back to just the point of thinking critically. And honestly, like, growing up, I went to church.
Yeah.
But it was never anything meaningful. Like, we went on holidays. I could care less. Like, it was just, some weird traditions they do here. And it wasn't until a few years ago when I had a guy at the gym invite me to a Bible study that wasn't affiliated with any church. Just a couple guys at a coffee shop, and that grew from 3 guys to now I think there's like 35 that kind of cycle in and out. So that's been super cool. But like, actually getting into the Bible and the Word, and like actually like trying to understand it, there is so much like value and guidance. Like, that is the best leadership book, the best business book, and that's ultimately, I think, where people are starting to turn to for that purpose. Like, I think in the last few years, churches have grown exponentially because people are looking for that purpose. And for me, it just started out of very into self-development, reading all sorts of books, and that was my angle, kind of going into it. And once you start to understand it, and then you put yourself in situations where you're quote unquote suffering, it's like you have nowhere to go but to God, and you start to build that relationship even more and see what's possible and actually have a purpose outside of yourself, like I talked about. I think that's the first place a lot of people should go.
Yeah, it's often, it seems like, the most overlooked, but when you're in a world full of noises, right, that honestly is the most consistent. It's been around the longest, and when all is said and done, I think people go there and they realize, wow, this is a point of truth that I can lean on. And look, I mean, if you're willing to turn to God and pray to Him and listen to Him and let Him guide your life, right? Like, now granted, not everybody's Christian, not everyone has kind of a different world belief and faith, but
on that, I think everybody needs something.
Yes, totally. You need a foundation, right? You need something. That's always been my case, even with my faith, being a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Boy, that's a mouthful every time you try to say it. But with, like, even if I didn't, I've told my family this, like, even if I didn't believe every aspect of it or whatever, like, at the base value, I'd rather have something than have nothing.
For sure.
Right? Like, if I was going through a time where I'm like, I don't know if I believe in God, like,
because when you have nothing, that's when you go to those negative things.
Exactly.
Porn, alcohol, whatever. That becomes your idol. That becomes your God.
Yeah, something has to be filled.
Yeah.
Like, if you create a hole, something's gonna fill that hole.
100%.
And it's like, what's better? What's a better alternative out there? And I've yet to find anything. I don't think there is anything. And so, I think I agree. I think if people would really spend more time trying to listen to God and build that relationship,
for sure,
they'd be able to filter out a lot more of the noise that they get in day-to-day life.
I think a lot of people discount it too, because whenever you go to a club in Scottsdale and you see all these people wearing a cross on a necklace, and they're clearly not trying to live like Jesus. And you can't judge Jesus by some individual in Scottsdale. It's like they're gonna portray what they're gonna portray, and obviously they're not clearly on that path, whether they're wearing a cross around their neck or have a shirt that says whatever about Jesus. But go find out for yourself. Read the Bible, like, even if it's just out of curiosity at first or personal development, as it was for me.
Totally.
And go into it open-minded with a genuine curiosity and see what you find in there. Because I think there's a lot of information and truths that have stand the test of time, and that's what we need to get back to.
Yeah. Oh no, totally. Couldn't agree more. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and this has been a lot of fun. I want to ask you one final question. I want to know, what's the worst piece of advice you've ever heard or even been given? One of the two. I know you've probably received or heard a lot, as it partially spurred your journey. And then, what's the best piece of advice you'd give somebody or want to leave somebody?
Ooh, all right. I think the best piece of advice is that you have the power to choose what your current state is. We talked about that earlier. It's like, whatever happens to you in life, no matter how good or how bad it is, the response is always your choice.
Yeah.
It's not dictated by anything outside of that. No matter how painful the moment is, you choose whether or not you suffer. And if you choose every single time to focus on gratitude and be happy and see suffering as a challenge to grow, then and be willing to step in and fail forward, then it's like I don't think there's ever a day in my life where I'm depressed or suffer or I'm sad. Do I have moments? Do I feel those emotions? 100%.
Sure.
But I always choose to see the good in it.
Mm.
So I think if you can just take that and genuinely apply it to every aspect of life, you don't have to suffer ever.
Yeah.
You're going to feel pain for sure, but you don't have to suffer.
Yeah.
The worst piece of advice, man, there isn't anybody that, honestly, in today's generation, I think it's just going to AI for everything and not being able to critically. That's not even advice that somebody gave me, though. I guess it is, because I've had people tell me to over the course of business and going through different coaching programs and mentorships,
Mm-hmm.
I've done a lot of signing up for a coaching program, just trying to do whatever like we talked about earlier, whatever the method is that they do as far as business.
Yeah.
And I think for the first 4 years, I was trying to jam that square peg in a round hole because that's what they did. It worked for other people. So I'm like, this has to be the way.
Right.
But it wasn't until I stepped back and asked myself, just like I do with clients in fitness, it's like ask myself what I actually want and think for myself and put that together, that I actually started to be able to be authentic and create something that I want.
Yeah.
So I think when somebody says that their method is the right way or the only way, immediate red flag. Go find someone else. But when they teach you the principles and ask questions and get you to understand what you actually want and how to use different things to gain what you want, that's where the power is. Whenever someone's trying to jam one method, their square peg, in a round hole and saying that's the only way to do it, you gotta look a different way.
Absolutely. Okay. I like that. Yeah. Search for those principles, not just the methods.
That's right.
That's awesome. Hey, well, I appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you? Where can they see your stuff? How can they contact you?
Bridger Deaton PT on Instagram. Instagram is where I'm most active for sure. The Lean and Lethal podcast, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere there's podcasts. And then you can look at more about coaching if you go to leanandlethalproject.com.
Awesome. Okay. Well, everybody, look him up. Bridger, thank you for coming on. Appreciate you taking the time. And people go check out Lean and Lethal because he's got some good stuff. I've seen some of it, been following him for a little bit, and it's excellent stuff. He knows his stuff. So.
Appreciate it. Great conversation.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Sweet.